The heavy oak doors swung open with a sound that echoed through the packed courtroom like thunder. Judge Maya Torres stepped inside, her black robe flowing behind her as cameras flashed from the gallery. This was the case everyone in the city had been talking about for weeks. A robbery. A convenience store. A black man accused. The media had already made their verdict known. She climbed the steps to her bench, her heels clicking against the marble floor. The bailiff called out, "All rise for the Honorable Judge Torres." Everyone stood. Maya settled into her chair and looked down at the defense table. Her breath caught in her throat. Time stopped. The file slipped from her fingers, papers scattering across her desk. Those eyes. She knew those eyes. Marcus Webb sat in the defendant's chair, his hands cuffed in front of him, his suit jacket hanging loose on his shoulders. 25 years had passed, but she would recognize him anywhere. The boy who had shared his lunch with her when her family had nothing. The boy who had walked her home when neighborhood kids threw rocks at the Mexican girl with the accent. The boy who had promised they would both make something of themselves someday. Now he sat accused of armed robbery, facing 15 years in prison. "Your Honor, are you all right?" The court clerk's voice snapped her back to reality. Maya gathered the papers, her hands trembling slightly. "Yes. Proceed." The prosecutor, a sharp-faced man named Richard Kellerman, stood up. His smile was thin and calculated. "Your Honor, the state will prove beyond reasonable doubt that the defendant, Marcus Webb, entered Sam's Quick Stop on the night of March 15th and robbed the establishment at gunpoint, making off with $400 and severely traumatizing the store owner, Samuel Patterson." Maya forced herself to focus. She could not let personal history cloud her judgment. But as she looked at Marcus, she saw something in his expression. Not guilt. Not fear. Resignation. The look of a man who had already been convicted by the color of his skin. "Defense, your opening statement," Maya said, her voice steady despite the storm raging inside her. A young public defender named Lisa Chen stood up. She looked exhausted, overworked, carrying too many cases with too few resources. "Your Honor, the defense will show that Mr. Webb is innocent of these charges. The identification was faulty, the evidence circumstantial, and my client was nowhere near that store on the night in question." The trial began. Witness after witness took the stand. Samuel Patterson, the store owner, sat in the witness box, his hands folded tightly. Kellerman leaned forward, his voice dripping with sympathy. "Mr. Patterson, can you describe the man who robbed you?" Patterson's eyes darted around the courtroom before landing on Marcus. He was black. Tall. Had a hoodie on. Mean-looking. "And do you see that man in this courtroom today?" "Yes. That's him right there." Patterson pointed directly at Marcus, but Maya noticed something. Patterson had hesitated. His eyes had sought the prosecutor's face before identifying Marcus. She scribbled a note. The next witness was a police officer, Detective James Hartley. He had 20 years on the force and a reputation Maya knew well. 3 civil rights complaints. 2 settlements. 1 suspension. "Detective Hartley, how did you identify Mr. Webb as the suspect?" Kellerman asked. Hartley shifted in his seat, his uniform crisp and pressed. "We received a description from Mr. Patterson. Black male, approximately 6 feet tall, athletic build. We ran the description through our database of known offenders in the area. Mr. Webb had a prior arrest from 10 years ago." Maya's pen stopped moving. "What was that prior arrest for, Detective?" Hartley looked uncomfortable. "Traffic violation, Your Honor. Driving with a broken taillight." The courtroom murmured. Maya silenced them with a look. A traffic violation. And that made him a suspect in an armed robbery. "He fit the description, Your Honor. As would thousands of other men in this city," Maya said coldly. Kellerman jumped in quickly. "Your Honor, if I may continue." The trial dragged on for hours. Each piece of evidence felt thinner than the last. A grainy surveillance video that showed a figure in a hoodie, the face completely obscured. A witness who claimed to have seen someone matching Marcus's description near the store, but admitted under cross-examination that it had been dark and she had been half a block away. Maya watched it all, her mind racing back through time. She was 9 years old again. The schoolyard. 3 boys surrounded her, pushing her back and forth between them. Go back to Mexico, they chanted. Go back where you came from. Then Marcus appeared. He was only 10, but he stepped between her and the bullies without hesitation. Leave her alone. The biggest boy laughed. What are you gonna do about it? Marcus stood his ground. Whatever I have to. They had backed down that day. And Marcus had walked Maya home, carrying her torn backpack. At her door, he had smiled. Don't let them make you feel small, Maya. You're going to be somebody important someday. I can tell. What about you? She had asked. Me too. We'll both make it out of here. Promise. They had shaken on it. A promise between 2 kids who had nothing but dreams. Maya called for a recess. She needed air. She needed to think. In her chambers, she pulled up Marcus's file on her computer. No criminal record except that traffic stop. He had a job as a warehouse supervisor. He volunteered at a youth center. He had a daughter in college. This was not the profile of an armed robber. She made a decision that could cost her career. She pressed the intercom button. Bailiff, bring Mr. Webb to my chambers. No one else. 5 minutes later, Marcus stood before her desk, still in cuffs. The bailiff waited outside. They stared at each other across 25 years of silence. Maya Torres, Marcus said softly. Little Maya. You did it. You became somebody important. Marcus. Her voice cracked. Did you rob that store? He looked her straight in the eye. No. I swear on my daughter's life, I did not. Then tell me what really happened. Marcus took a deep breath. I was set up. 3 weeks ago, I reported corruption at the warehouse where I work. Stolen goods, falsified records, money laundering. I gave evidence to the FBI. 2 days later, I get arrested for this. Robbery. The detective who arrested me, Hartley. His brother-in-law owns the warehouse. Maya's blood ran cold. Can you prove this? I have documents. Recordings. I gave copies to my lawyer, but she's drowning in cases. She doesn't have time to investigate. The FBI agent who took my statement, her name is Agent Rachel Foster. She can confirm everything. Maya stood up and walked to the window. Outside, protesters lined the courthouse steps. Some demanded justice for Marcus. Others held signs calling for law and order. The city was being torn apart, and the truth was buried under racism and corruption. She turned back to Marcus. I cannot let an innocent man go to prison. Not on my watch. Not ever. And especially not you. Maya, you could lose everything if you go against them. Then I'll lose everything. Some things matter more than a career. She called the bailiff back in and returned to the courtroom. The afternoon session began. Kellerman was presenting his closing arguments, painting Marcus as a dangerous criminal who deserved to be locked away. Maya let him finish. Then she spoke, her voice cutting through the courtroom like a blade. Before this jury deliberates, I have some questions for Detective Hartley. Detective, please retake the stand. Hartley looked confused but complied. Kellerman stood up. Your Honor, the prosecution has rested. Sit down, Mr. Kellerman. Detective Hartley, is your brother-in-law named Thomas Hartley? The detective's face went pale. Yes, Your Honor. And does Thomas Hartley own Webb Industries warehouse? Yes. And were you aware that Mr. Webb filed a complaint with the FBI regarding illegal activities at that warehouse 2 weeks before his arrest. The courtroom erupted. Kellerman shot to his feet. Objection. This is completely irrelevant. Overruled. Detective, answer the question. Hartley looked trapped. I may have heard something about it. Maya pulled out her phone and dialed a number, putting it on speaker. Agent Foster, this is Judge Maya Torres. Can you confirm that Marcus Webb provided testimony to the FBI regarding illegal activities at Webb Industries warehouse? A woman's voice came through clearly. Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Webb is a confidential informant in an ongoing federal investigation. We have been concerned about potential retaliation against him. The courtroom exploded into chaos. Cameras flashed. Reporters rushed for the doors. Kellerman's face turned red as he shouted objections that no one could hear over the noise. Maya slammed her gavel down. Order! I will have order in this court. The room slowly quieted. Maya looked at the jury, then at Marcus, then at the prosecutor. Mr. Kellerman, I am dismissing all charges against Marcus Webb effective immediately. Furthermore, I am ordering an investigation into Detective Hartley's conduct and the circumstances surrounding Mr. Webb's arrest. Bailiff, remove Mr. Webb's restraints. The bailiff unlocked the cuffs. Marcus rubbed his wrists, tears streaming down his face. Maya was not finished. Detective Hartley, you are hereby held in contempt of court. Bailiff, take him into custody pending investigation of corruption charges. Hartley stood up, fury in his eyes. You can't do this. You're just protecting him because he's black. Maya's voice could have frozen fire. No, detective. I am protecting him because he is innocent. That is what justice looks like. Perhaps you should try it sometime. Two bailiffs led Hartley away in handcuffs. The courtroom buzzed with energy. Lisa Chen hugged Marcus, both of them crying. Kellerman gathered his files and stormed out without a word. As the crowd began to disperse, Maya called out, Mr. Webb, please approach the bench. Marcus walked forward, free for the first time in months. They looked at each other, and Maya allowed herself a small smile. You kept your promise, Marcus said quietly. You became somebody important. So did you, Maya replied. You stood up against corruption even when it put you at risk. That takes more courage than anything I've ever done. Thank you, Maya. For everything. Thank you for being my friend when I needed one most. And Marcus. I'm sorry it took so long for justice to find you. That should never have happened. He nodded, understanding the weight of what she meant. The system had failed him because of the color of his skin. But today, justice had won. Outside the courthouse, Maya faced the cameras. Reporters shouted questions. She raised her hand for silence. Today, we witnessed both the failure and the triumph of our justice system. An innocent man was accused because of prejudice and corruption. But the truth prevailed. Let this be a reminder that justice is not blind to color in our society, but it must be. We have work to do. Real work. Starting now. That night, Maya sat in her office long after everyone had gone home. Her phone rang. It was Marcus. I wanted to call and thank you again, he said. My daughter is coming home from college tomorrow. I get to see her because of you. You get to see her because you're innocent, Marcus. I just did my job. No. You did more than your job. You did what was right, even when it was hard. That little girl in the schoolyard would be proud of who you became. Maya felt tears sting her eyes. That little boy who protected her would be proud of you too. They talked for a while longer, catching up on 25 years of life. When Maya finally hung up, she looked at the photo on her desk. Her graduation from law school. She had taken an oath that day to uphold justice for all. Today, she had kept that oath. Outside, The city lights sparkled in the darkness. Somewhere out there, a man slept in his own bed, free and innocent. Somewhere, a corrupt system had been dealt a blow. Somewhere, hope still lived. Justice was not easy. It was not always swift. But when good people stood up and fought for what was right, it could still prevail. Maya turned off the lights and headed home, ready to face whatever battles tomorrow would bring.